So the title of the session includes the word journey, and that's deliberate, because I remember the first day, or maybe not the first day because I didn't understand anything the first day, but on the first week when I saw the product that Anna and her team were building, which is DataCap, I was amazed at how what they built, but little did I know of the amount of work and the vast skill set that is needed to build something like that. So, and I'm very excited to that Anna and Gabriel have the opportunity now to tell you about it, and hopefully you will like it as much as I do. So, if you want to kick it off.
Yeah, no need to introduce ourselves, right? So whatever CVs we've got. So we're going to discuss about the data platform in ALD. So we come from one of our Alenia and ALD joint venture, and the journey to production. So the success story is based on a lot of data and a very long 6 years journey that we will go through the slides. So take it easy and stop us at any time if we are going maybe too fast. So let's start with a little bit of numbers because data platform is quite a broad topic. So ALD, I don't know if you know it, but it's a leasing company operating in 43 countries. And we manage worldwide 1.8 million vehicles. So really tons of data. Having that worldwide coverage helps a lot having the largest corporates using our services. And that requires a lot of support and again, data topics. Not yet, please. Thank you. Last news this year on May 22nd, I don't know if you know, but it was confirmed the acquisition of LeasePlan, our nearest competitor in size and coverage worldwide. And we now bring our two companies together to manage an overall 3.4 million vehicles around the world, which is a big challenge, but help us being the top one multi-branding leasing provider in more than 29 markets, especially all the top markets in Europe. So quite a big challenge, all related with data, and that's why we will discuss around the platform today. So being a worldwide mobility leader has a lot of challenges, and although having a central data warehouse is beyond question, you really need to centralize data somewhere. You need to find a balance between decentralized responsibility, so you need to adapt the support you give to customers locally with their local regulations and their local products and their way of doing things, whereas building a global framework, especially for international key accounts, so they can really have a global analysis and across markets. And you need to find that balance between decentralizing data, centralizing data, and it's quite a challenge because especially for central teams like the one we are part of, you are in the middle of all battles. So you have your central projects, your central strategy regarding technology or data, but then you have the local projects, the local data projects, local data products that may sometimes collapse with the other things you want to launch centrally. So you cannot always work top down, and you really need to find a balance and collaborate between the big family we are worldwide. So we came from a legacy architecture, not really flashy. We put it in black and white because it was really technology from the 80s. So we needed to centralize data, and we learned a lot of advantages from doing that. So when you are working worldwide, you really need to harmonize data. So around the world, we all have different languages, different currencies, different models, so different data that you need somehow that you need somehow to standardize. If not, you cannot really benchmark and see what is happening globally. So centralizing data was good. We learned to have some master data group values to which we harmonize everything for group reporting. So that was really interesting. But the bad side of that is that each business area, and you will see that those data marts, so I could say sales, insurance, whatever, each business area was doing a specific copy of that data, manipulating it with their own interest, and we had multiple versions of the truth. So a very basic question like how big your fleet is, How many cars do you have on the road? It was different depending on which business area did you ask. So the worst part of that is that it was a huge team, huge investment on IT, but depending on who you ask, you got a different answer. So the system itself looked like non-reliable, non-accurate. I don't have the answer I need. So we cannot stop production, and it's the discussion of today as well. So production needs to run. You cannot stop the machine. And we had to build something from scratch, something good, something scalable, and learning from the goods and the bads from the legacy. So we moved to the cloud. Our partner with Microsoft made sense in Azure. You can have Google Cloud, Amazon, or whatever. We chose Azure. And that kind of abstract layer Azure gives you on the infrastructure stuff help a lot on focusing the development effort on really delivering stuff. So we didn't have to understand about servers, memory, CPUs. It was click, 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 and we literally created the data lake in which we fed all the information we had from the countries. And it was a parallel environment in which we started to play, but with a clear strategy that is doing things faster and cheaper, because in the cloud, you pay per use. I don't need to buy tons of memory for whatever is going to happen in 4 years. Let's see in 4 years. I will pay for what I'm using, and it helped a lot having the right profiles on the team as well. So not a lot infra, more development, more data analysis, data engineering, and a more motivating role because we were really controlling the data. Okay, this is in a nutshell. Gabriel will go into the technical details afterwards, and that's why he was asking, what was your technical background? How deep you want us to go into the detail? One of the, not yet, we have a video. I will go for the video. But one of the gaps that the legacy architecture had, and I can go back again, is that we were using SAP business objects. And most of the analysis and the reporting and the data exploitation was based on central users that decided who saw what data. And that in the end created kind of silos of information, and that the countries could not contribute to that. So you are building basically a black box in which the countries send data to you because it's their responsibility. They send data to central, but they cannot see the data. So they cannot contribute on the data journey end to end because they're literally not seeing the data. So we moved towards a web portal. It required, of course, a .NET developer, okay? But in this web portal, you have no issues in concurrence, like, in a real reporting tool that if multiple users are accessing data, normally you have a lot of issues. It wasn't that expensive, and if you see there, it's super user-friendly. So it is super flexible. We have built any functionality that the business requires to us. It's adaptive, and basically, we can see it from the laptop, or top management can see it from the iPhone if needed. So opening that black box to countries was key to have a real ecosystem of people using and making the most of our data. So I know it looks really good, but it took a lot of years, as you can imagine. So it's not a 6 months project what we are presenting today, and that's why we have the timeline here on how long, really long. Now it feels good, but it was long to start this adventure. So the adventure begins in 2017, in which we start with the cloud. We call it Cloud BI. You can see we are techie guys, not marketing, because the name is quite basic. Cloud Business Intelligent, no rocket science. And we started migrating data, because we know without the data feeds, we were not going to be able to really do something big. It took 2 years to really find the best business case. So it cannot be an IT project only. So IT for IT, migrating to the cloud, nobody was buying that. And literally nobody was buying that we needed to move data to the cloud. How we got the real support was by finding the best business case. So we knew a lot of business areas lack a real operating system and a real tool to manage their monthly reporting, normally based in Excel and happens all around. So Excel is normally the tool most used by the business. And we target the financial guys, because they are the ones holding the books. And that's the real truth in any company, what the accountant is saying, no matter what database you've got. So targeting less than 0.1 discrepancy with the Excel files from the financial guys, we went with the fleet report. So we will talk about the fleet report throughout the session, and it's just that, counting the vehicles right, and as in the accounting books, which looks easy, but it wasn't. So throughout those years, you will see that we have added a drill down capacity, so it's not only counting those 3.4 millions now, but getting a real insight into which products, categories, makes, models, partnerships we have worldwide, which is not easy. And in 2021, it was the real hit, because it was the financial golden source. So we really got the financial guys in, and the financial figures reported to investors, Central Bank of Europe, and outside, it was our tool, our data. So that was a real milestone. And from that, it was just getting the rest of the gang in. So the rest of the business areas using the same golden source as finance, because if finance was saying A, sorry guys, it's A. And 2023 is just the new era with lease plan. So we will have double the data and double the things to do, but we have already the basics. We have already platform. It's just a matter of, that scalability that we are now ready to assume. So it's a lot of years, a lot of effort, and a lot of different models that have made our house tidy. And I've got my dear Gabriel as technical expert to show you those models and why this whole ecosystem makes sense. And now we can go into that detail, Gabriel.
All right. So I'll pass to the slide, but before, one of the main reasons I started in this project and that I was really interested in, so Anna was explaining to you the year by year, step by step. I joined the project when it was already in production. So I basically got the ball rolling. I already saw all of these outputs, but Anna was there since the beginning. So I know she looks really young. She is really young, but she has almost 10 years of experience, and she's the one who really drove this project. And one of the reasons that I started on the team was that I saw that it was actually a product and not just a department that was providing a service. So this is one of the main reasons we are able now to simplify and tell you bit by bit what we do in let's say a functional way. It's not that technical. I can explain to you all the overview, and then we can get a little bit more technical if you're interested. But the challenge when I joined the company, I saw this, outputs, and these are just a few examples of what we provide data to. So you see here customer and partners, executive committee, there's a lot of trust on the data, but also to regulatory means. So, there are a lot of reports that depend on our data, which are regulatory, which are mandatory to report in certain dates. So it's not just operational need that we're fulfilling. The application really expanded and structured itself to an importance within the company, and it was created within the company. I think this is a big difference of why it was successful. And I'm going to talk about the technical points, but also in a way, I want to emphasize the middle point, because I think this is where the trust is built on the application. So the quality of data, it's also a key point. In production, you always check the maintenance. You have the KPIs, the quantitative KPIs. You need to make sure that the platform is running. You need to know how many users are accessing your tool. You need to have a team. We do have almost 20 guys in Madrid, 20 guys in India, supporting the whole application, Jiras, etc. But on top of that, you also need to build the trust with the business. And I think it's the critical aspect of what we do. You cannot do one without the other. So it's two going hand by hand. Also, I want to remind everyone, please check the QR codes. If you have any questions, we can answer them later on the event. Okay, just checking my time to see if I'm not extending myself. It's fine. This is what we do. So don't be fooled by one system, one local system. This is plural because we have 43 plus countries. Within each country, many subsidiaries. Sometimes the subsidiaries are not even from the same bank or from the same company as ALD. Sometimes, in Spain we have Sabadell. In the Nordics we have Nordea, which is a separate.
Joint ventures with banks or partners or, yep.
So, as you can imagine, systems are not always the same. So it is a heterogeneous system. The challenge of maintaining the quality, incoming quality of that data, which is heterogeneous, is quite huge. So the input, as we call it here, the import is, basically just files. You can imagine this is just a bunch of files incoming to our data lake. On top of that, we have the integration. It's separate because it's where we implement the structure of the data. It's the metadata, it's reinforcing the types. It's making sure that the overall structure of, the technical structure of the files are correct, etc. And, we now have the ownership of that structure, and we can, advance as much as possible and expand it. Then the most important part, which for me, we have a bunch of machines working, technologies behind the screens, but it's a joint venture with humans. So this is where the business comes in and say, look, this is the quality that we need on top of the data. This are the aspects of which I expect this data to be in. So, the data quality is quite a huge part. And for me, it's the coolest part because it's where technology and humans are really working hand in hand. And the day-to-day work on production really shows that. I'll explain it in a few. Then you have the consolidation, which is basically building the reports, the aggregations, the visualizations that you need. And finally, just dispatching everything to whoever needs it. So these are a few examples that we have, as you can see. Okay. Again, the same architecture. We try to minimize as much as possible. There are more elements than the tools that you see, but the impression that I want to show is that it's fully cloud. It's all based on Azure technologies. The main, tool that we use is Databricks. I think this is it was a key difference on our department when the team started using Databricks. I onboarded that we were migrating towards it, and to move from an SQL perspective to a scripting perspective and in a more software-driven perspective of even development, but also analysis. So the day-to-day data quality is performed through Databricks. It was quite important as well because the flexibility you have with scripting languages like PySpark and the clustering that you have on Databricks allows you to do much more with a lot less effort. So this for me is the critical part. It's also the part that I work with, so I'm biased. But we also have reports on Power BI, and this is to represent the web page. So when I talk about a data platform, as I already showed, the screen is a product, is a user interface, and not just a back office or background of something that is then provided. It's visual, so that being visual, allows for a lot of more input from the business as well, which in my opinion is key as well. Okay. This is let's say, the data model that we work with on a day-to-day basis. You can imagine it's like an enterprise data model. It's enforced on arrival, so we receive the data and we implement this model. The countries do share some, similarities on the data they have locally. For example, everyone is working with a system that has a contract object in it. Most systems will be very similar, but on our side, we need to make sure that they're exactly the same. So, the data that I'm getting from Brazil or India needs to match exactly what I'm receiving from Finland or, UK. So to make sure that happens, within the team as well, we, specifically on our team that we work together with the Alenia guys, we have a support team to make sure that the data that is going to our system, our platform, is following these rules, both in terms of, technical elements, as I mentioned, the metadata, but as well in terms of the quality of it. So we need to have a whole team, a whole group of people attacking both fronts. So it's challenging because it's a hybrid profile that we look for, and it's a big discrepancy in each country in terms of quality and effort. You're dealing with different cultures, and it is really active work with the countries. But honestly, I think is why there's so much value in what we do. This is one of the critical parts of this translation of data, this making something heterogeneous, homogeneous, right? The list of values management system. Forget the name, I'll just call it LMS. Just think of it as a translator, right? What it does is we're not forcing the countries to change their local systems, right? You can imagine, like this cartoon right here, we'll focus on the little diagram later because it's a lot more dense. There are two people, conversating different languages. How do you get them to speak the same language, within a company? The language is the first challenge, right? And that's quite easy. If you receive a data, like I said, from Brazil, I'm from Brazil, so I'll use this as an example. If you receive a contract type from Brazil, it's not going to be exactly the same naming convention than you would have in Spain, right? That's fine. In terms of naming, it's really easy to use Google Translate and translate something, right? But that's not all we do. What we do as well is we make sure that the local language and local business on the contract type, for example, just one example of many, have the same business perspective of what this contract type A means in Brazil and in Spain. So let's say contract type A in Brazil means a finance leasing, right? A financial lease. But contract B in Spain also means a financial lease. There are some differences in the description. Maybe locally they have different teams working with it, so it comes to us with different codes and different descriptions. But we need to map them both in terms of language, but also in terms of functionality, that they're the same thing. Now expand this concept to everything else. So vehicles, we work with a lot of vehicle parts, and we need to input all the information from a vehicle, not only the brand or the model. We also, work with all the aspects involving the vehicle. And that needs to be mapped as well internationally. So this is basically a mapping system. We input data that is not normalized. We store it locally. We have an AI algorithm that does the prediction of what this value might be according to previous values. Finally, this is where I like this part, because it's where the business is involved in a visual UI. There's an interface where they can validate that these values are correct or not. This is not blocking. If the user is not involved enough, the AI algorithm will continue to go forward, and automatic alerts will go to them saying, look, we are mapping these values for this vehicle in your country. Make sure it's correct. So the responsibility is shared, and we have a first step that is automated, next step that is human-based, next step is automated again, and then there's a human validation. So it's a back and forth with the local countries, and not just, like Anna said, top down. It's also coming from the downstream systems and people that are working really on the day-to-day business that are providing the value and quality of it. So it goes both ways. And then we start to normalize data, international, and people can really understand that the context is the same. My time is okay. We do the same for quantitative values. So those are descriptions. These are merely, data quality as you would see in any other company, which is, is the fleet going up, down? Is the quality of the prices of each contract correct? How is, the residual value in each contract? Is it filled correctly? Are the types correct? So this is quantitative. And this is, for us, really easy, to give the business a tool for them to follow up with it. So it's also, going into the lines of a data management tool, not only a reporting tool as well, which is pretty cool. This is the same, but with more details, line by line, right? And then a bit on, the day-to-day on the production side of the integration team, which we like to call ourselves the integration team because we're managing integration issues, right? The monthly process that we do, monthly because we work closely with the finance team, so the monthly closure is quite important, right? What happens is the countries will check the web page on a daily, we expect daily, but honestly, it can be monthly as well, basis. If they find any discrepancies in terms of data, they will raise a ticket, everyone here knows the JIRA, so they will raise a JIRA ticket to our team. It will be categorized, structured, and shared with whoever is the responsible team. So if it's an IT issue or a business intervention, it needs to be done locally within the system. And this is just an example of an alert that goes directly to the user, in case they are not doing their homework properly. Right?
Email always works. So with business, email, yeah. So apart from the report, that is a screenshot of literally an email arriving to the responsible.
Correct. Well, that's a bit of my part. I'll give it to Anna.
Oh,
sorry.
The final one, yeah.
One last step. This is the actual main report that we have. From this This is the golden source of the fleet data that we have within the company. So this is the types already mapped. This is an example of those values, already ready to be consolidated. As you can see, we're on the part of consolidation. So here you have an example for Hungary, where you have the drill down options from world to region to country. Then you have the specific subsidiary that you're working with within that country. And then here starts what I mentioned before, the mapping part, right? What is a full operational leasing for us? What are the sales channels that we're working with this country for? And the list is this big, but for other reports, it can go through vehicle data. It can be any column that we have on the data model that I showed initially. Okay.
And maybe we're going too fast, but
yeah.
So basically, having the core right, having the basic information and all those key assets that Gabriel was mentioning on contract vehicle, we have built something that serves for more than 6,000 users worldwide. So it's not something for us. It's not only our toy, it's a shared toy within the company, and with quite a real sense of purpose for everybody. So it's used, that is quite important. So I really recommend not to spend a big effort in something that will not be used, because generates a lot of frustration on IT teams. That level of maturity, we can now say that after, it's been live more than 3 years, but live 3 years here means as real golden source for financial guys. That was quite a big fight. And those same guys, plus others business areas, have asked already for more than 10 different reports. So the view we were seeing here, it's a lot of different evolutions and changes, and give me this access and give me this new detail, this new information. And it's just, sometimes pivoting. And it's the same core, but expressed differently for other business area to use it as reference. So it's not something we have done and it's a static. It's a live project in which we receive new requests every month. And we are creating those new views to have as many people happy around the world as we can. Efficiency as well, because we have automated more than 40 manual files. So the closing of the accountant guys on a monthly basis is fully automated. And we have real, the sky is the limit. So we will automate as many reports and as many KPIs as the business wants, because they now trust the data. So efficiency is key. And those business users are no longer spending an average of 4 days per month to build that data set, to build that report. They're investing now the time in analyzing that data and making the decisions locally they need. So it's time that they now have to do the real job. That is not manipulating data, is really driving the business. And the last KPI for you to remember is on the cost. So going cloud has helped us a lot on investing less of our budget in infra and investing in people that can think and can really add value. And in the end, storing data in the cloud with the data lake is super cheap. We have terabytes, is super cheap. And any Databricks or cluster or database you need, you pay per use. You don't pay the licenses and you don't pay the yearly cost, you pay per use, literally. We don't pay on non-working hours, we don't pay during the weekends, we don't pay, we don't use it, basically. So we have the closing of the month, 1 week that is really traumatic, really demanding, but the rest of the month is quite at ease, and we don't pay for that. We only pay for the huge demand normally in the first week of the month. So it's really, really worth it. And the last message of today, in case we have not convinced you of this story being really successful, is that having built a lot of different IT projects and having gone through different IT strategies, we really believe the only one is killing the silos finally between IT and business. We are all one. We all need to serve for the same target, and that is working together for that, golden source of truth that is, for everybody to use it. Data is not from IT, or the truth is not from business. So everybody needs to own it, co-own it, and use it. So that's the best lesson learned from our project. Thank you.
Yeah, so I hope you have enjoyed the journey. I think, yeah, we have the QR for the questions. We have already some questions here, and I think, well, we have five. There are two that can be coupled together. So one is on a sponsorship, or who did you convince the exco, and who sponsored this, and set the priorities. Let's say which reports should go first, or
That's a tough one. So having a production environment, nobody wants to take the risk of, stop what we do to do something from scratch. So it was really difficult. But for a real POC, so for a small pilot, that was the data quality model, in fact, if you really have the key people and the motivation, you can do it on top of production. So if you have really that strategy, you will make it. And once we were successful with the pilot, with the data quality, it was something that was requested by the exco, by the way, because we got on an IPO process long ago, blah, 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 and it was really required for the top management to trust the data. And for investors and everybody seeing our data, it was the best tool that we could build, that we really check data quality, we will really monitor it, and that built a lot of trust. So having one pilot that was already somehow successful, it was quite easy to say, now give me the means, give me the budget, and give me the time to migrate from the legacy to the cloud. But it's true that for those kind of huge strategical changes, you need to prove first. You need to prove you can. Maybe with something small, but you need to prove before you get that money from those guys. Yes.
yeah. And we've been discussing, and I think it's clear from the whole day that people are, behind every IT endeavor, every IT initiative, and data, of course, it is not different. But how did you, coming from 2017 to 2023? I mean, many people don't feel comfortable leaving legacy behind and adopting Databricks, cloud, whatever. How did you manage to keep the people motivated, or
Yeah. So I can start with our example, and then you guys, as part of the team, can give your opinion as well. So the team, I was not leading at the moment, by the way. The team from the legacy, you can imagine the skills were completely different. So you always get a lot of enthusiasm to talk about cloud and to move to the cloud and to use new technology. But that knowledge curve, it's months, 3 to 6. There's a lot of work you need to do on yourself, on how you accept a new way of doing things, new process for everybody, new rules of the game. It's quite shaking for any team. So you really need to embrace it, and you need to be motivated, not for 1 week or 1 month. So it's a very long path, and sometimes it's tough. So we had turnover in the team. That's no secret. But the ones that stay, they really know they have made something big, something really strategical, and that is not that easy to do in another place. So it's a challenge. But if you've got the means to really build it as something meaningful for them, normally they like it. I don't know you guys when you arrive, but normally.
for me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, I have seen too many things run with Excel files, and that's a nightmare. That's hell for me. So no,
Kill Excel, kill Excel.
for me, it's really appreciate it. Yeah.
I think also just as part of the team, and I think you guys will agree, it's seeing first the strong leadership and seeing things ending as well, because sometimes companies will have both running in parallel, so the legacy and the new system will be working parallel because they're too afraid of turning it down. But back to the first question, you need to prove that the new solution works, and I think that's a lot of ownership from management, from IT management, and saying not only is the product going to work technically, but the data is correct. There's no reason to keep both, and that's only proven by showing the KPI. So I think having a clear view of what the exco in this case wants, or finance wants, and reaching it with no room for doubt. So you prove in terms of data, that the task is done, and that it's fair, that the old application is down. Not that we do it without fear, because I remember turning down legacy, and everyone was okay. Is everyone breathing still? Is everything, the building
No
going to
backup,
collapse?
clean.
but I think the two questions are linked.
Yeah,
You
sure.
need trust to be able to move forward, and that motivates the team because
of
you see
course.
things actually happening. Otherwise, you're doing things for, for nothing.
Yeah.
It's true that convincing finance, I think, you get the rest of, the company on board.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
if the financial pessimistic guy says yes, everybody gets in, I think.
Yeah. So one more, I think it's what is nowadays the main pain point of this type of organization, if any?
Pain points. I would say that the ecosystem is quite active. So you don't have a strategy forever. So you have new versions of those resources coming every year. You have new tools, and Microsoft is bombarding you. You are not done with Databricks, that you have signups, then Fabric is coming. It's too, active.
Continue to.
Yeah.
It's the Sisyphus.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like
The rock to the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
never
IT
ending.
keeps changing. It's being on our feet, and.
Yeah, you really need to like it. So not
That's
to
true.
build something to stay forever and then we are calm for another 20 years. You really need to like that rhythm. And with the cloud, you are never up to date. You are never up to date. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, another one. Do you ever need to give access to the raw data itself to other teams, or can other teams play with the data?
Yeah, we have not shown the data due to some privacy topics, but you can literally go to that detail. So those 5,000 contracts in, I don't know if it was Finland or whatever, you can literally see the contract code, plate number, vehicle, you can see all the details. It's just a user-friendly way of seeing the details, but indeed, and the web page, through APIs and a lot of stuff, but it's directly accessing Databricks because it's tons of data. And we need to have the best technical stack to provide that detail. Business needs detail. They don't want, pie charts are not used anymore.
No, as you know, if I use my customer support hat, put my hat on, if you see like we saw the fleet report and data cap and so on, there were like 3 little dots there. And that's why you can download the data you see on CSV. So yeah, anyone it is accessible to anyone. Yeah, like
So the
those
data quality as
3.
well. Yeah, we didn't show that because we don't like users downloading the data, but yes,
Yeah, it's
you can download the data to Excel because they still
there are
like to
tiny
play
3
with
dots.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't want you to, but you can.
That download thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
The best part is when they download the data, they do a lot of calculations on top of Excel, and they call us and say, "Why is the data not right?" And then I'll look at the Excel. Well, because there's
Yeah,
a lot of things
that's
that,
the good part.
that you've done here. Yeah,
That
Yeah.
screw it already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's part of it.
Yeah, and I think the final is a hybrid question. So on the cost side, how efficient is this? And on the flexibility, you said that we are currently integrating list plan data.
Yep.
How flexible is this new architecture versus the legacy?
So I would say that the legacy, we knew that we were already not scalable. You can buy more memory and have more servers and more rooms full of, servers in a cold room, blah, blah, blah. But we already know that it was very difficult to grow, and the data we were processing took more than 1 day. So when you cannot refresh your data daily, when you cannot serve your business daily, and it takes 2 or 3 days, already the opportunity is lost. So on the legacy, we were very clear we were not up to the market needs. And now with the cloud is what we discuss on all these never-ending evolutions in the cloud. So we have good basics, but we have no fear now to add another brick and say, okay, now instead of data factory, it's fabric. So let's go for fabric because it will allow us to manipulate even more data or even faster. So it's the change of mindset because 10 or 12 years ago, you had an architecture and you thought it was going to last forever. Like the dinosaurs there in Cobol were going to stay there forever. And now we all realize we all need to learn and change. And it could be stable for 2-3 years max, but we all know that we will go sooner or later through another migration, upgrade, whatever the name you want to give it, and it's not steady, but that's the fun. That is not steady, always learning, always developing, but.
Yeah, also, I think that, you asked by lease plan data, so that's basically double the fleet that we currently have. technically it's no issue at all. So the issue on the current platform that we have, we can do it in 1 day. Actually, we did it. We did a test run, and it worked perfectly. You know, some times of execution went up. We readjusted clusters, and it worked perfectly. So that's not an issue.
Simple.
But I think the challenge then is the quality, you know, and then how you mesh two big platforms together. That's a different discussion altogether, because I don't think is, you know, it's a new migration, let's say, but I think this is a separate challenge, not a technical one necessarily.
That from the top management, I think they were really surprised that we were not scared about the merge. When they were talking to us, it's like, we are ready.
Yeah.
We are ready. I don't care. It's your issue with the business that they are all panicking and running like chickens, but we are ready. We are not afraid of doubling the size of our data, and you know, we have already the best strategy and team process we can. So let's go for it.
Yeah, and with Delta Lake, I think we're, I would say, like, definitely overestimated by the amount of data we actually need, but that's a good thing. So now we have a lot of room to grow. So the cost went down, but the room for storage actually increased from before, and we still have room to go. So this is a big plus as well.
Yeah, so I hear some noises. So I think it's time.
Coffee break.
I hope you have enjoyed, and thank you.
Thank you.